Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Koala. I am a shamanic practitioner mainly within the Nordic shamanism, but I'm also initiated into Nustokarpa and the monarchy rites within the care of medicine. Today I'm here to talk about Freyas ball, or the bonfire of Freya, I think I would translate it into. So in Sweden, there we have something called Valborg. I think it's originally German, or at least it's more commonly known about the German Walpurgis nacht. I don't really celebrate that. When I was a child, we used to go to this big bonfire because that's kind of how we celebrate Valborg in Sweden. There's a big bonfire, and it's the end of winter, and it's the season where you can finally start like burning leaves, and the people are doing like in April. People are doing a lot of gardening and clearing of all debris and whatever from the winter and from last fall, and they gather that into piles and then burn them. And around the Valborg is when you start burning these things. I think you can do it earlier, but I think that's one of the aspects of Valborg, to burn away the debris of the winter and start anew. But my memories from childhood is going to these big bonfires, and there was a lot of fun around it. Like you could spin a wheel to win chocolate bars. You could buy tickets, and you could win other things. And we always had like hot dogs from a hot dog stand, and spun sugar. I don't know what you call that in English. And other just fun activities. I remember always getting like lemonade and a cinnamon bun. And we met all of our friends there. Like everyone went to the same bonfire. So for me, I visited two different ones. So there was a lot of bonfires. It wasn't just one for the entire Stockholm. That wouldn't have worked. But so I live in a municipality with like, back then there was like 65 or 70,000 people, and now we're closer to 90,000, I think. So there's a lot of bonfires going on. What I keep in my celebration of Freya for this event is the bonfire aspect. If I have the opportunity, I light a bonfire, or at least a small fire. I think one of my best memories from celebrating Freya's Eve or Freya's bonfire is to dance around the fire with friends, like the typical witchy situation where you just dance around the fire. But for me, the focus of this is to get rid of the old, and just it's to focus on two things, I think, because or three things. One is the aspect of letting go of the old. That is almost a part of every time you light a fire. You can release things into the fire that you don't need anymore, or don't want anymore, you want to leave behind. And this is a part of a lot of cultures all around the world. Where sometime on the spring they light a bonfire, and some cultures skip over it, and some people throw things in it, and some people do other things with this bonfire to release the old and walk into the new. So that's one aspect of the celebration. Another aspect is the sexuality and sensuality of Freya as the goddess of passion and love, and because she is the Nordic goddess of love and passion and romance. So to really, there's not like a sexual part of the celebration. It's more about letting the fire outside of you light the fire inside of you, so that you focus on that, on the, you know, expanding that energy inside of you, the creative, passionate energy. So I think that's the healthy way of doing it, like focusing on yourself. And it starts from the inside, so it can be a very introspective and self-intimate journey to go on to do this celebration. And then we have the outwardly, like dancing around the fire with other people, expressing your inner, not just your inner fire, but also your inner magic wielder, because it's not all that well known, because a lot of people put Odin on like a pedestal, and he's like the one satyr in the Nordic tradition, but he isn't, because his counterpart is Freya. She knows everything that Odin does. They have some differences between them, but they are both satyrs, and they are both magic wielders in the Nordic shamanic tradition, and they are like magicians in the Nordic mythology. And so to celebrate your inner Freya, no matter what gender you are, you can celebrate your inner Freya, you can celebrate your inner magic wielder, your inner fire, and light that fire, and give that fire oxygen. And like, imagine building the fire outside of yourself. So like, you pick the pieces that's gonna be giving nourishment to the fire, and then you light the fire. You know, the building of the fire. We do that inside of ourselves as well, and make sure that we have everything that we need, and give ourselves everything that we need. And then we light the fire and express the fire. That is one way of celebrating Freyas Eve. And then so those are the three things that you can focus on Freyas Eve. Letting go of the past, walking into the new with spring. Because this is an event that happens on April 30th. I completely forgot to tell you guys the date of it. April 30th or May 1st. I usually celebrate on May 1st with Freya to kind of distance it from Valborg or Walpurgis nacht, but it doesn't really matter. The distancing is also more of like, if I want to celebrate with other people, most Swedish people, especially if they have family or still go together with their family, a lot of people go to these bonfires. So if I want to celebrate Freya's bonfire with something that is not Valborg, then I need to do that on another day so that people can come. So that's kind of why I usually pick May 1st for this celebration. In the last couple of years, I think when COVID hit, also when the pandemic hit, I started doing this online. I think I have, and sometimes I celebrated in both ways. In the last year, I think I celebrated both. But so now I'm gonna talk about how I have celebrated this online instead of offline. And then I'm gonna give you some tips on how you can do if you are curious to celebrate Freya yourself. So in the recent years, I've done this online as one of my goddess ceremonies. I hold goddess ceremonies in Swedish like 8 times a year. And in April/May, it's time for Freya. And I open a sacred space, we invite Freya, we have some things, we have some symbols that we bring into the sacred space, symbols of Freya, or what Freya stands for, or what we want to bring into the circle of one of these 3 aspects of letting go, passion and creativity, and love, like that's intercepted, and then the magic wielder aspect. So something that symbolizes Freya and her power and what she stands for. And we talk about her, we talk about our connection with her, we connect to each other by doing this, we connect to her by doing this, we open up to her energy by doing this. And then we go into meditation. In a meditative state, we we meet her in this realm. So I've talked about this before in my videos, that if you're new to shamanism and shamanic practice in the Nordic tradition, one of the first thing you can do is to invite whatever entity you want to meet in your space so that you can say bye-bye. It might feel safer to go to them so that you can leave, but it's harder to leave than it is to say bye-bye. So it's easier to, you know, open a sacred space and decide what you want to invite. And in this case, we want to invite Freya, and we want to invite love and passion and creativity. We want to invite, we want to open up to, we don't want to invite another person's magic. We want to open up for our own to take place and take precedence and to expand. So we focus on those things when we open sacred space, so that when we meet Freya in our space in meditation, so we invite her to us. And that can look two different ways, but I'm going to talk about that when I give my tips. So what I usually do is I meet Freya in the middle world. So it's a deep meditation on border on journeying, because with journeying we go anywhere in the 9 worlds, but in a meditative state we usually stay in the middle world, like Mannheim or Midgård, and whoever we want to meet comes from their realm to meet us there, because it's easiest to stay in that realm and to ground yourself back to the here and now, back to the ordinary reality from the middle world, than it is from any of the others. So we have our experience with her in that realm, and then we ground ourselves, come back to the here and now, write down everything we want to write down, and then we share whatever we want to share before we close the sacred space. And it's a ceremony that online takes about 1 to 1.5 hours. Offline it takes as long as we want it to take. And the offline we usually have like maybe we have something to cook over the fire, because of course online in Zoom or whatever we don't light the fire, we only light the candle. So offline there's more opportunity to, you know, really enjoy the fire, and that sort of thing. It's more of an internal journey online and more of an external experience offline. So when it comes to the tips, if anyone wants to do this, my biggest tip would be, I have a lot of tips. So if you want to do it offline, I would say just open a sacred space, invite Freya, invite all of the aspects I've talked about, and focus on an external experience. Maybe put on some music or someone's drumming, and you dance to the beat, and you try to connect with with Freya while you're dancing. Or you can just sit and move, like, you know, sit in a meditative position and then move, and then just feel the energy of the music and feel like your soul is dancing, and you can invite Freya to dance with you and experience the build-up of energy from that. And make it an external experience. And then you can also, you know, make an evening out of it and have a barbecue over the fire, and you can even make it, if you're in Sweden, I would not recommend staying up all night because it can get really cold. But if you have enough clothes and if it's a good night for it, you can keep the sacred space open, and let the fire die out and have an utiseta together with that. And I have made a completely different video about the concept of utiseta, so or utesittning, and I can make another one if you want to know how I would go about it to join the two, like a celebration of a goddess and doing an utiseta around that and connecting to the goddess during that. I can do another video about that if that is something that someone wants to know more about. If you want to do it alone, like indoors, or maybe online with some friends or whatever, if you want to do it indoors, I would suggest that you pick one of 2 ways to do it. Either you do it the way I've done it, to be in a meditative state. You invite the goddess and all of the aspects I've talked about, and you try to do the same as with outside, but not light a bonfire, not light a fire indoors. Well, you can do it in 3 ways, I think, because you can do it like you would do it outside, or you can go into a meditative state and, you know, go to the tree of life and meet her at the tree of life in the middle world. I think the easiest thing, if you're not used to that, is to invite her into your space where you are, but keep your eyes closed and, you know, be beyond the veil inside of your own home and your own space, and just feel her presence and have an experience with her in that space. The third way of doing it is using a secondary medium to commune with the goddess, which is like runes or tarot cards or oracle cards, or scrying, like using a bowl of water or a mirror to scry, which is to spore. So you can use any of those external and secondary mediums to commune with her and ask the questions you want to ask. I would recommend that you write them down beforehand, so it doesn't really get out of hand too much if you're new to it. I'm sure there are different kind of like spreads you can do that are on Pinterest and everywhere on internet if you just search for commune with goddess spreadsheet or tarot spread or whatever. So do what you feel best, because if you're new to communing with gods and goddesses at all, I think the best way of doing it is doing it, you know, on a beginner's level, which is that it's to open a sacred space, which can be, in this case, just lighting a candle, inviting the goddess, because then she's present but she's not here, and you haven't, you know, welcomed her into you. She's just around, and she's just there for you to commune with her. And then the more experience you get, you can go deeper and deeper. But it's better to do it if you're the least bit unsure. It's better to just do a spread of some sort and to invite her and maybe have a lot of symbols of it and maybe put on some ambient music for it and that sort of thing, and just have a beginner's outwardly experience of it instead of going too deep. So even I do that if I don't feel well, or if it feels like the right thing to do with that particular deity or whatever, I can do this. So sometimes that's all I do, and sometimes I go really, really deep. This year I'm actually gonna celebrate Valborg. I'm probably gonna go to a friend's Valborg celebration on the 30th, and then I'm gonna have a Zoom ceremony on the 1st of May, and I'm gonna meet Freya in the way I've described, going into the middle worlds and meeting her. So those are my 2 basic practices, and I think I'm also gonna draw some runes and commune with her in a more light-hearted fashion, because I do have some things that I would like to get answers to, and drawing runes is a good way to get like straight answers, and to get it's different ways of doing things and getting different kinds of answers, because going into the middle world and meeting the goddess there, it can be a wonderful experience, but it can also be very mind-blowing. It can be very you know, almost like going through a riddle of some sort. It's often not very clear on what the messages are until afterwards. So I think I'm not gonna combine them, because they're gonna be different. Events for this, but I think I'm gonna do I'm gonna do a lot of different things this year. So let me know if any of this speaks to you, if you have plans on inviting Freya at this time and communing with her, or maybe journeying with her if you're hardcore. I'm not gonna journey with her this year. I might do it at another time. And also, so let me know what you if you have a previous relationship to Freya, if you want a relationship to her, if you want to work with her. So yeah, let me know if you are curious, and I will see you in my next video, and I hope you have a lovely week. Of course, you're gonna see one more video from me until it's time for Freya's Eve. So I will see you then. Walk in beauty and shingling.